We're going to work on making an audiobook using Garageband as well as iTunes in order to create our podcast and add lyrics to it. Even though we won't be singing, we will be speaking every piece of it. We are still going to add the pieces of our story into iTunes as well. And then what we're going to do is sync our iPad with this particular audiobook that we create. That way we can read it as well as listen to it on our iPod app on the iPad. So of course the first step is to create your story. Of course you can use a Creative Commons story that is available for public use, or create your own original story like I have done here. I did so in Pages, and I just took a quick screenshot to show you what that might look like. You'll notice that it's just plain text. There are no images, nothing fancy. We need it to be simple for this particular process. The next step is to open Garageband. And when you open Garageband, you get a menu that looks like the one on your screen. On the left-hand side, you'll need to click New Project. And when you do, you have various options such as piano, electric guitar. Well, since we are only going to be recording a podcast, that's what you need to select. So select Podcast by clicking on the podcast icon and then click Choose. You will choose either a male or a female voice on the left-hand side, and then you can do other audio settings as you would like to if you need specifics to be set. You'll also notice that you have a timer that is going to start as you press record and immediately recording your sound. Make sure that you do a test run to be certain that your microphone is working correctly. At the bottom of the screen, you're going to see to the left of the timer a red circle, which is the record button, and we're going to click on that when we are ready to record. So you'll click record, and I like to keep Pages open so that I'll have my story there and can read off of the screen, making certain that I'm including all elements of the story, not leaving anything out, and also to be certain that I can see my podcast as it's recording and making sure there are no problems with it. So as I'm recording, I also have Pages up side by side with it. To the left of the record button, you're going to see two important buttons. One is the dark gray square, that's the stop button, and then the blue triangle beside of that is the play button. So you want to click stop when you're finished recording and then play it so that you can listen to your recording and make certain that it's clear. If you need to, you can select in the timer box your podcast and then simply delete it by hitting delete and then re-record as you did before. We want to make certain that we do save the file in GarageBand. So we're going to go first up to File and choose Save As. We're going to name it whatever we would like for this particular project. A lot of times people use the name of the story, but if students are creating their own, you may also want them to include their name. After you've saved your podcast, we want to send it over to iTunes so that we can work with it in there. So you're going to choose Share, which is in between Control and Window at the top, and then you're going to select Send Podcast to iTunes. You're going to complete the information in order to send this to your iTunes library. Put in a particular playlist if you would like, an artist name, this could be where the student puts in his or her name, a composer name if necessary, an album name as well if you would like to have that. The more information students input, the better. You don't need to worry about compressing the file at this point. For audio settings, make sure that you choose Spoken Podcast, and then when it says Publish Podcast at the bottom, set artwork to recommended size. Make sure that that is checked because we will add some artwork to it. Once you have completed the information, you'll need to click Share. Then it will go automatically into your iTunes Music library. So open iTunes And on the left-hand side, you will see library with music, movies, TV shows, podcasts, etc. Currently, this is going to be found under music until we make some adjustments to it. So you'll need to click on music and then click on your file name. You'll notice that it turns blue as mine has done on the right-hand side. Once you have clicked on your podcast, you're going to go to File and then Get Info. And you'll also notice that there is a shortcut tool for that on your MacBook. On the keyboard, you can select Command, hold that down, and then hit the letter I, and that will also do the same thing. In Get Info, we're going to add some artwork, and this could be something that a student has drawn and taken a picture of or scanned. It could also be photos that the student has taken with his or her iPad. So with that already being on the MacBook, we're ready to go ahead and pull that in as the artwork. So I'll find the particular picture that I want, and I'll click on the name of it, and then I'm going to select Choose, and then I will click OK, and I will be able to add that artwork to it. Another thing that we might want to do is add the lyrics so that folks are not just seeing or hearing this particular story, but they are seeing it as well. So they get an audio to go with a visual. So in Pages, you want to select your story and copy it. And then in the Get Info box, you're going to see to the left of artwork that there is a box for lyrics. And so we're going to click in that box and paste in your story. And again, this is why we wanted to keep it simple text. And then we're going to click OK down at the bottom of that box. To the left of lyrics, under Get Info, you're going to click on Options, and we're going to change it from music to audiobook. And that's important because we want it to actually recognize it as an audiobook instead. So make sure that you go into Options and change the media kind by pulling the menu down to audiobook. If you have multiple audio files here, you want to make sure that you check the box that says Remember Playback Position, because if you have multiple audio pieces that you're putting, say for example in chapters or different sections, then you want to make certain that it can remember the position that it's in when you're playing and moving from chapter to chapter. Once you've set those things, make sure you click OK at the bottom. And then you'll notice that it moves from your music library to books, which on the left-hand side, again in iTunes, you'll see library, music, movies, TV shows, podcasts, and books. Make sure you click on books, and you will see that I now have my GCS's album. It's an audiobook that I have now added as an audiobook into my library. So what I want to do now is move it over from iTunes to my iPad, and I can simply left click on my audiobook and drag it over to my device when it is synced with iTunes. You can see my device is on the left hand side, and after I select my audiobook and move it over, you'll see a red circle with a 1 inside of it showing that I'm moving one file over onto my iPad. Wait for your iPad to finish syncing. That's always an important thing. It will always say OK to disconnect when it has finished. And once it has synced and it's finished, then of course you can unplug your iPad from your computer, and you can go to the iPod app that's on your iPad. That's where your music and audiobooks will live. So you'll see the libraries on the left-hand side with music, podcasts, and audiobooks. If you'll tap on audiobooks, you will see the audiobook that you created. Once you tap on it and select play by hitting the triangle button, then you'll notice that the image pops up behind your text, and you'll also see that you have the ability to go in and control the volume as well as to rewind if necessary. And here's one of my favorite features. You can change the speed as needed. Some students want you to read a little bit faster. They're learning how to speed read. So if you tap on the speed where it says 1x, you can actually increase it to 1.5 or 2 times as quick as the normal pace of the recording. But also you have students who will need for it to be slowed down just a bit as they're working on their reading skills. So you can also click on that 1x and you can play it half as quickly as normal, and that will slow it down, make it a little bit easier for those students. Another nice feature is that they can pause, rewind, and replay as needed and listen to the audiobook that they have created or you have created for them as many times as necessary. And that's how you make audiobooks using GarageBand and iTunes.